Greetings, everybody. It's your friendly neighborhood Uncle Pete here, and welcome to another episode in my horror debate series that I collaborate with my good buddy Carlin. We're debating a wide array of topics in the horror genre. So, after you watch this video, please go to Carlin's channel, link in the description. Watch his video with the same title, and he'll have a community tab open on his page for you guys to vote on who you thought had the better argument. Was it me? Was it him? And there also was a tie option. You don't have to vote. It's just for good fun, and we'd really appreciate it. Also, let us know what your stance on this topic is down in the comments down below. We love reading that stuff. Last week, we discussed what is the best new trend in horror. So, it only seemed fitting for this week, we're going to discuss what is the worst new trend in horror. And I was thinking about this one, and I'm going with studios not letting a franchise rest. For example, the unnecessary number of requels and prequels in the horror genre. Now, I'm not necessarily going to talk about remakes because that's not a new trend, but I think requels and the amount of prequels we see in the horror genre are, and that's what I'm kind of going to focus on this debate. I'm going to start with what is a requel exactly, since technically it's kind of a new term. I think in Scream 2022 sums it up really well. It's not rebooting a franchise from scratch anymore. The fans aren't just going to like that. You need to build something new, but not too new. So it's not quite a reboot, not quite a sequel, which is kind of ironic since Scream 2022 is a requel. A requel is a new way of remaking a movie without actually saying it's a remake or a reboot. I think with requels, the film can't simply act as another entry in the franchise. It has to either undo or ignore some parts of the franchise while also attempting to jumpstart a new franchise. It's like resurrecting the dead, so to speak, when it really didn't need to be. I think it's a pretty accurate description of a requel. It's a movie that looks like a remake, but acknowledges the events of the original, so it's like a sequel to the original in some cases. Doesn't necessarily ignore all the sequels, but does disregard some of what occurs in those movies. You also get legacy characters brought back, and they're put in the same situation they were in the original movie. Another thing I really don't understand is studios, they like to use the same title of the original in these requels. Scream, for example. And that's just to get butts in the seats, and I can understand why studios think that's a good thing. I feel like when they do this, there's no meat and potatoes in the movie. They just rely on the legacy aspect without putting anything new or original in the movie. With the amount of requels and prequels we see in horror, to me, nothing really feels fresh anymore. You don't see any new and original ideas that much. They are out there, but you don't see it as much as I guess I would like. But not all requels are bad, but I do think that if this trend continues, we're going to start to see more and more studios relying on requels and prequels. Then we're going to get a sequel to the prequel that's still a prequel to the original main movie in the franchise. Just look at the Conjuring franchise. That movie is a mess. That franchise is a mess, in my opinion. You got spin-offs, you got prequels, you got sequels to the prequels, and it's just, I don't want to say it's a cash grab because obviously every movie is made to make money, but it's relying on the legacy of the original, and it's just going to the well over and over again, even though to me, I think that well has run dry. And I believe this trend continues. One day we may even get like a Nightmare on Elm Street prequel, where you get to see a young Freddy Krueger. While that may be interesting, I think the odds are that it won't be, because it's not really a fresh idea anymore. I just watched the trailer for the next Exorcist movie, and it looked like every other demonic possession movie they've made since 2010. And there are a lot of those. And from my understanding, this next Exorcist movie is a sequel to the original, even bringing them back Reagan's mom I saw in the trailer. To me, when they really can't remake a movie, they choose not to. They make another sequel regardless of continuity. How many times have we seen the final chapter in a movie and then the studios put out another movie or sequel only a few years later? And they get away with this by saying, oh, maybe this is a prequel, just ignoring all other continuity. So I think the prequel is very popular also in the last decade or so because they can ignore all their continuities and choose to start fresh. For a while, there was even a new Saw movie coming out every year, which is odd since John Kramer, Jigsaw, who is the Saw franchise, dies at the end of Saw 3. But there are 6 movies that came out after that one, and then we have another one coming out this year, and Jigsaw and Amanda are back, so it's another prequel to this horror franchise. And another thing I really don't care about prequels is some of them give more insight into the origins, but I feel like the mystery could be even better. I don't want to know how Leatherface became Leatherface. Not knowing to me makes the character more interesting since it allows the viewer to come up with their own ideas about the origins and the whys that this character does what he or she does. But with Texas Chainsaw Massacre and Leatherface, they crapped all over his mystique with the movie Leatherface by making Leatherface a pretty boy that just turns evil at the very end, and he loses all his mental faculties after getting shot in the face, and he even starts to walk differently and stop talking. So they just kind of like flipped the switch and he changed, and we're supposed to believe this guy actually becomes this hulking behemoth Leatherface. And I think another prequel that failed was The Thing 2011. Again, they called it The Thing, not The Thing 2011 or nothing else. They called it The Thing, which is the same title as John Carpenter's masterpiece. I don't know why. And I kind of understand what they were going for, but because of all the crappy studio involvement, we got a crappy movie with horrible CGI. The concept was there, showing what happened at that other base, but it just really failed in execution because so much studio involvement. And I even recently read that there's a It prequel in development for a Max streaming service. I just wish they'd stop with these prequels and requels already. It gets really tiring with no new fresh ideas, going to the well over and over again, even though that well has certainly run dry. I'm confident that there are some amazing scripts out there that would make awesome horror movies, but they don't get selected because studios prefer to go to the well again and again and just crap out another prequel, remake, or requel, since they could use the name of the original franchise, which they believe is going to reach a wider audience. There's even a new Alien movie coming out this year. When it takes place, who knows? I'm sure it's going to be a prequel or a requel or something. For me, it's hard to believe that Hollywood has actually ran at random ideas, and I wouldn't be surprised if there's a new Final Destination movie planned, maybe another prequel. Squeezing blood from a stone, I guess, and there's even a Friday the 13th series in planned, a Crystal Lake prequel TV show. I, I don't know anymore with these movies and shows. Halloween 2018 was a good example of a requel since it ignores all the movies in the franchise, but it started its own trilogy. But where it fails is Halloween Kills and Halloween Ends were just abysmal. I think if they just stopped with Halloween 2018, it would have been better. So you just had that timeline right there, Halloween and then Halloween again. They just named the same movie the same time over and over again. But in closing, I feel like the quality of horror movies has suffered in recent years as the entertainment industry has focused on bringing back old franchises instead of using new ideas, which I guarantee you are out there. Prequels give viewers answers to questions that are sometimes better left a mystery. Requels choose to ignore all other movies in a franchise and then you try and start a new timeline, so to speak, just based off the success of the original. How often do we hear about another requel or prequel coming out about another horror franchise? I think Hollywood just needs to take a chance instead of rehashing the same thing over and over again. Let these popular franchises rest in peace, pun intended, and get some new ideas out there. Look at these different scripts out there, different plot ideas for movies. Make those movies. Start a new franchise instead of going back to what worked 10, 15, 20, even 30 years ago. But just my viewpoint. I'd love to hear what you all think in the comments down below. Do you agree, disagree? What is some of your opinions on the worst new trends in horror? Again, thanks for watching now. Please go to Carlin's channel, link in the description. Watch his video with the same title. He'll have a link on his community page for you all to vote on who you thought had the better argument. Carlin, myself, was it a tie? All in good fun. Really appreciate you guys just watching. And if you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button. I'm a little over 400 subscribers right now, and I'm trying to hit 500 by the end of the year, and I think it's doable. I could use your help getting there, so if you haven't subscribed, please hit that subscribe button and share this video around. I greatly, greatly appreciate it. Don't forget to check out my Nails in the Coffin series, which comes out every single Friday. That's a ton of fun. I'll put some cards up here for you to check those out. Thanks again, everybody. Take care of yourselves and be good to each other. I am your friendly neighborhood Uncle Pete, and remember that with great kills, there must always come great nails.